In the middle of June, I decided to take a leap of faith by moving from renting to owning my first home. I saved up a good chunk of money in about 18 months and I was ready to take on the world. The next few months that followed, however, would be one of the most confusing, most frustrating, and ultimately most rewarding experiences that I've had in my working career. My journey to home ownership began when I was referred by my bank to their mortgage lender. Not knowing anything about getting a mortgage, I had a slew of questions. Unfortunately, I was pretty ignorant about the entire process and wasn't prepared for all of the paperwork, emails, phone calls, and general anxiety that came with home buying. The first thing that my mortgage lender did was ask for a list of documents. Tax returns from the last 2 years, W-2 forms from all of my jobs in the last 2 years, my last 2 months of bank statements, my last 2 pay stubs from my current job. I was also asked about my yearly salary and how long I've been working at my current job. I also had to provide statements from all of my investment and retirement accounts. At the time, I was working at my job for about 4 months and I had less than 2 years of working experience coming out of school. And because I had less than 2 years of working history, I even had to give my bank my undergrad and grad school transcripts. But by the grace of the home ownership gods, after mounds of paperwork and phone calls and a hard inquiry to my credit, I was somehow approved for an initial conventional loan of $225,000 at 4.5% interest. I started house hunting around mid-July. I downloaded all the apps: Trulia, Zillow, the New Jersey multiple listing service, and I really narrowed down what I wanted in a home. Close distance to work, easy access into the city, and a safe area, and ultimately, potential for making it a future rental property. I decided to focus on areas that were less than 30 minutes away from my job. I previously commuted an hour to and from my job, and I worked night shift, so safety on the road was a really big priority for me. My first 2 properties that I saw were 2 studio apartments going at around $125,000. They needed a lot of work and the neighborhood was about 25 minutes from my current job. The bathroom was small and outdated and it kind of smelled like mold. I realized that I didn't want my first home to stress me out with all of the repairs. Plus the HOA fee was like almost $400. My second property that I looked at was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo. Beautifully done and in a really nice neighborhood close to the city. I loved the layout, but the price of $220,000 was a bit steep for the budget that I planned. It had a communal parking lot and the neighborhood was gorgeous. But with a price tag at the top of my budget, an HOA fee of around $400 and high property taxes, I wanted to consider other options. I looked at 2 to 3 co-ops, each around 130 to 140K each. I researched everything about co-ops. They were all 1 bedroom and 1 bath, mildly run down, but not beyond repair. Definitely was considering these, and I even almost made an offer. However, they had strict rules about living and renting to tenants and having visitors. They even specified that they only accept mortgage loans from specific lenders. It looked like it would be hard to rent out or resell in the future. So despite the cheap price, I realized it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I looked at 2 1-bedroom condos in Belleville and Nutley, each going at around 180 to 190K, worn down and right next to a really busy highway. They had pools, but it just didn't seem like a good fit. I looked at a $199,000 2-bedroom house, very close to my job and to New York City. I thought that it would be a good investment in the future. $199,000 for a house was a steal, and I thought that I could renovate it in the future. But I wasn't planning on initially putting down 20% as a down payment, because I was told that if you pay private mortgage insurance, you could hack it. But the house was built in the 1920s, needed a full renovation, there was a cigarette odor lingering from the carpets, and the underground had an oil tank. It sounded like a headache. I finally bumped into a condo on Zillow, a $165,000 fully renovated 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo with a garage. And a train that goes directly into New York City in 30 minutes flat. It's a 15-minute drive from work. I knew exactly that this unit was what I was looking for. There's a local college in the area as well as growing businesses, and it was accessible to all the major highways in northern Jersey. Parking would be so easy, and I wouldn't have to stress about finding street parking or paying a monthly permit. The HOA fee was only $290. After almost 2 months of searching for a home, I knew that this unit was worth way more than the sellers were offering. I got to know the seller's situation well. He and his newly engaged fiance were looking to start a life in California as soon as possible, so they wanted a quick sell within 30 days. I asked my real estate agent if she knew if there were any other offers on the property, and she said that there were unfortunately several. I wanted the condo so badly, so I offered $167,000 for the condo with 20% down, which would be $33,400 as a down payment, not including closing costs. I barely had $32,000 in my bank account at the time. But I was assured that I would have at least 30 to 45 days to close, which would give me a bit more time to come up with that money. I only had about $4,000 in other investments, not including retirement accounts, just a Wealthfront robo-advisor and my Acorns app, which I set up a year prior. I really did not want to withdraw from my retirement accounts. I was ecstatic to hear that the sellers decided to go with my offer of $167,000 with 20% down. I was assured by my lender that based on the information that I provided, that I was going to be able to pay for the closing costs and a mortgage. Again, taking a leap of faith, I decided to wing it. Note to self, buying a home is not something you should wing. The contract was updated and it was reflecting that I would pay $133,400 left on the loan after the closing costs and the down payment were done. I opted for a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage because they offered a lower interest rate. My interest rate would go from 4.4% to 3.5%. So this was thousands of dollars in savings, and I also realized that by doing so, my monthly payment would be about the same as I was paying in rent. So I decided to go with it. A recent attorney recommended to me by my real estate agent, who graciously gave me $200 as a discount on the attorney fees since I was referred to him. Unfortunately, he hated talking to people and wasn't very polite, nor was he willing to hear any of my concerns. So after attorney review, he initially asked for an initial deposit for the full down payment. He expected me to basically pay most, if not all of my savings in the first week. Okay, first-time home buyers, so this is not normal. Typically, the initial deposit is part of your down payment. Maybe a few $1,000s, maybe like 2 to 5% of the offer price. And this serves to pay the seller if you decide to back out of the offer prior to the closing date for any reason. So basically, if I were to back out because the home inspection showed water damage and the seller wasn't able to fix the issue, I would pretty much lose all of my earnest deposit, which in this case would be my entire down payment. I negotiated with my lawyer to bring my earnest deposit down to half of the down payment, which was $16,700. Still way too high, but I figured I made it this far, so I might as well go for it. Again, homeownership is not something you should wait. Apparently my real estate agent wrote in the contract, no home inspection required. And it's a good thing that I questioned it because, like, if I was buying a property, I should have it inspected prior to buying it? It was a good thing that I questioned it with the lawyer. I certainly did have to have a home inspection, and he wrote an addendum to the contract. Disaster struck when my real estate agent suddenly told me that she had to leave the country due to an unexpected loss in the family. Of course, I understood she needed to focus on her family. She reassured me that everything from this point forward should run pretty smoothly. Spoiler alert, it didn't. The real estate agency did not provide me with a substitute real estate agent. I needed to schedule for a substitute real estate agent to let the inspector into the property. My mortgage lender recommended an inspector to me, but the real estate agency told me that getting the inspector into the property was my lawyer's job. It wasn't. After a brief, angry exchange of emails, I called the real estate agency and demanded to have a substitute real estate agent. Luckily, one was provided to me, and he was a super cool real estate agent and investor who told me all about his neat side hustles with house flipping and rental income. My house inspection initially seemed to go really well with the inspector, until the inspector told me that there was a wooden frame in the garage and it had termites. I panicked. Luckily, the lawyer reassured me that the HOA will take care of it, as it's not actually part of the unit, it's a communal garage for all the residents. So it was actually taken care of within a week. I learned a lot about home ownership things like title insurance, home insurance, contacting the HOA for their services and the HOA management surveys. And for some reason, there was a delay in getting the title information from my lawyer to the bank lenders, and my closing date got postponed by about 8 days. Because I locked my interest rate, I got penalized with a fee by the mortgage lenders. That was rough because I was already strapped for cash. It's pretty unusual to close on a home in less than 30 days. The day before closing, I had to do a final walkthrough of the property. I scheduled with my original real estate agent who came back to the country to do it. Unfortunately, she canceled, but she gave me a lockbox combo. She told me to look at the property to make sure that it's in the same condition as when I agreed to buy it. She then told me to keep the keys, which I later figured out wasn't what I was supposed to do. And the agent for the seller actually had to hunt me down in a town 20 minutes over to retrieve the keys and give back to the seller's lawyer. Finally, the day of closing had arrived. My lawyer, who was pretty much dismissive of me the entire month, had another meeting and didn't come to closing. My seller's attorney came earlier in the day to drop off the paperwork and left, and my real estate agent who wanted to be there also bailed. Luckily, the title agency people conducting the closing were there, and my mortgage lender was also there. After reading everything over, signing literally a booklet of papers, and a firm professional handshake, I was the proud owner of my first condo property. But to complicate things, they didn't have my keys. Apparently, the seller's attorney forgot in her office, so I drove 25 minutes out of my way to pick up my keys to my new condo. Nothing could ever be easy, but the headache of closing was finally over. Guys, I am so excited for this condo. It is the perfect 15-minute commute, super close to New York City, even in New Jersey traffic, and I spend half as much as I would on gas because it's so close. It is the perfect one-bedroom condo for future rentals and has a huge resale value. And there's no co-op rules to tie me down, so I can do literally whatever I want in my condo. The area is really safe, really lively, tons of things to do here. The garage is super convenient, and I believe that I paid well under what this condo is worth, just because everything is newly renovated. So yeah, nothing needs to be repaired. All right, my fire folks, so thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos on budgeting, saving, investing, and ultimately living a fulfilling and passionate life through financial independence. All right, bye guys.